Have you ever felt overwhelmed with all that's going on in the world? Sometimes we don't realize that we can make a difference. My name is Debbie Van Grieken, and it is my hope to inspire you to take small steps towards social impact. Join us each week as we have conversations with those who have taken simple steps towards living a more sustainable and socially conscious lifestyle. If you want to make social impact, let's start small. The Small Steps podcast is proudly sponsored by Moya Shea Products. As a listener, enjoy 15% off your online purchase. Use code SMALLSTEPS15 at checkout. At Moya, we believe in people helping people. Supporting the local and global communities that help our organization succeed is very important to us. We apply a fair trade framework when purchasing raw materials, supporting farmers and families. Thinking global and acting local, Moya works with organizations to better the lives of children through education and fair trade. Are you looking for the best moisturizer for beautiful, healthy, glowing skin? Our Shea products are superb moisturizers and have exceptional healing properties for those suffering from skin issues. Check out these products and our wellness line at moyasheabutter.com. Welcome back to the Start Small podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Van Grieken, and today I'm so happy to be joined by Clarissa Smith. Clarissa is a local homesteader and chef. She spends most of her time immersed in food. She grew up on a free-range lamb and chicken farm where her passion for food and farming began. Her core beliefs are farm to table and dreams of owning her own farm where she can teach cooking classes on homesteading and culinary. Currently, she is working with another chef, creating specialized private dining experiences and event catering with Le Petit Poney, where she creates fresh, French-inspired cuisine with a twist. Hi, Clarissa. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, I was so excited to interview you because we've developed a little relationship over the past couple of years because you were working at one of my favorite cafes and serving lots of yummy vegan foods. And I've actually had you come to our house and help us learn some new recipes and teach my family how to eat a little healthier. But really loved your story because you're a young, basically homesteader. Like you're aspiring to eventually maybe take over a farm, and so I'm really excited to just kind of dig right into it and talk a bit about that. So, what kind of got you interested in homesteading?
So I grew up on a farm, so it wasn't as much of a, hey, let's get into homesteading. It was kind of a push. I think people have kids most of the time as farm hands. And my grandmother taught home ec, so that definitely got me into more than just the farming side of it, but actually like transitioning to food. And we had this beautiful like vegetable garden and like actual flower garden, and so it wasn't as much of like, hey, this is my interest. It was definitely a push from the family, which I'm so grateful for.
Right. Oh my gosh, your grandmother would have hated me because I failed home ec. It's one of my most embarrassing moments. Like I've only ever failed 2 courses in my entire life. One was in elementary school, which was home ec, and once in high school, I failed physics, which killed my dream of being an engineer. But anyway, I failed home ec. I can't believe it. So maybe that's why I had to get you come teach me how to cook. But so tell me what's kind of most rewarding for you being in like homesteading and working with your family and stuff. Is what are you kind of getting out of this?
More than just the ingredients that I get to use that are fresh, I actually get to be hands-on with it. It's a great workout, so it keeps you nice and shape.
Yes.
Well, just knowing where the food comes from is so important, especially now. I don't like reading ingredient lists and being like, oh, that's a novel.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so important as we, really start to make connections between our health and what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're putting on our bodies. We always talk about that at Moya, is making sure our products that we're putting on are a clean and simple ingredients, and again with the foods, so looking for organics, looking for more natural, instead of all of these preservatives and ingredients you can't pronounce.
It's scary. It really is.
So if a newbie wanted to fully commit to returning to their roots and getting off grid, like this whole homesteading life, what would you recommend? Like, where would you recommend them to start?
Well, good luck. For like just starting off, definitely go for just trying to grow your own herbs, maybe microgreens, that's like instant results in a couple of days. It'll get you kind of like that boost of, hey, maybe I can actually do this. And it's just a nice, easy way to put your kind of like toes in the water. But if you're really serious and you have like a little bit of land, ask a farmer. Go up to a farmer that's near your zone and say, hey, what's working out for you? What can you grow? What have you had difficulties with? Farmers are amazing and they can talk your ear off forever. And there's a lot of good knowledge there.
Yeah, and a lot of farmers, like, what might work on one farm might not necessarily work on another farm, right? Because soils can be different, and depending on whether the farm was organic or whether it was conventionally farmed, it might be depleted of some nutrients. So definitely knowing your soil, I think, is probably pretty important as well.
100%. We're very blessed with Haldeman clay here, so it's
Yes.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you're being very sarcastic there for some of our listeners who might not get that. That's actually not what you want.
No, topsoil and sandy loam would be fantastic, but that's not what we have at all.
Yeah, and we're very lucky where we live. We do have the sandy loam, so we do have a bit of a better growing patch, so that's been helpful for us. What would you say is the most tedious things that you need to do, like care for? I know you've got animals on your property. Is there something you would recommend people to stay away from, maybe because if they don't have the experience, it's too difficult to start off doing?
My favorite thing to grow is probably most difficult, and that's raising ducks because everything thinks they're tasty.
Right.
Predators are a huge thing. I've had foxes, raccoons, skunks, possums, minks, like a whole abundance. And they all think that I grow excellent duck.
They're so grateful.
I know. I'm really good at feeding the wildlife around this area.
Oh, I feel so bad for the ducks. The circle of life, though, right?
I have learned a lot from this experience. Like live traps are a godsend.
Right.
And nature reserves to transport these lovely creatures are also really amazing.
Nice.
You know what? I would just invest in being able to work with and compromise with your animals. Like you're gonna have good days and you're gonna have some really bad days. And the good days are fantastic. And you're like, man, I want to get more. I want to see how far I can get this farm going. And then there's the bad days where you lose your whole entire flock with just one fox meeting. And that happened a couple of years ago, 25 down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not fun. Not fun at all. So I know you do eat meat, and you do raise animals for meat. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, like why you do that. I know I've talked a lot about veganism here, and I know you do a lot of vegan cooking, and but I know myself, I still do eat meat on occasion, but there's definitely better ways of doing that, being a better consumer. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that process.
So when I was growing up, I grew up on a lamb farm, and we had meat birds, and next door was my uncle's farm, and he grew cattle. So everything was super local for us. We didn't really go to the grocery store a whole lot. And so I never really had that kind of line between pet and food. It was just kind of like it's all mixed in together.
Right.
And I mean, I try to eat as healthy as possible. I do work somewhere where it is vegan cuisine. So for the most part, I do eat very vegetarian lifestyle. But when I was going off to culinary school, I kind of had to make a decision. Was I going to limit myself and say, no, you can't try all these things and you can't experience the different cuisines around the world? And I had to make the choice if I was going to go vegan or vegetarian or if I was just going to keep doing what I was doing. And I find that the easiest way to go about it is just take it day at a day and just try to cut back on maybe greasier foods and just kind of enjoy as much as I can from the farm instead of going to a grocery store. So like for the most part, I don't eat my pet ducks because they are pets and they're precious and they're spoiled. But it is a kind of a blurry line, I will admit. And I mean, I love my sheep and lambs, but
Right.
they're tasty.
Right. And again, I mean, we're talking about, humane, being treated like they're free range, they're, yeah, for sure. They're being treated well, and, fed properly. And then I'm assuming too that there's more a humane way of dealing with the, their
100%. No, they're definitely spoiled brats. They get organic greens every day. So, as much as they would tell you and argue, and they're very vocal, I'm surprised you can't hear them in the background actually. But no, they have a very good life.
Very good. Excellent. And I know, your cooking is amazing. I've tried it personally. So you've talked a little bit about kind of how you got into cooking with a little bit of influence from your grandmother. Tell us a little bit about that and what kinds of foods you like to cook with, maybe what kind of flavors, and just that whole process of cooking for you.
So I grew up sitting on the kitchen counter and just kind of playing with spices. I think it drove my mom insane. I was always taste testing. And then from there, we watch like food documentaries, which is always scary because afterwards you go, well, I can't eat anything now.
Right.
And I started reading up on it at a very young age. When I was probably in grade 5 or 6, I read Super Size Me, and that horrified me.
Yes. I made my children watch that when they were probably about the same age.
Yeah, so it was definitely a wake up call, even at such a young age, of just like, okay, maybe it tastes good, but I don't know if I want that like in my system. So from there, I just kind of grew up on more of like not so focused on the flavor, but more focused on like where it's coming from. And then culinary school, my eyes just like wide open. I discovered so much more. We did this really cool thing in school where each week it was a new like country we're kind of focused on for the cuisine. And oh man,
Wow.
us, us as Canadians, like we have maple syrup and poutine, but there's a lot out there.
Yeah, it's a kind of embarrassing. Like when you go to other countries, I travel a lot as well, and they're kind of like, "Oh, you're from Canada?" Like I'm like, "Yeah," because the foods they bring and the presentation is always so incredible, and I always feel like, "Gosh, what have we given the world as far as food?" You're right, poutine's not a really great thing to be proud of.
Nothing against cheese curds. I love them, but it's not exactly a health conscious meal.
No, at least we've got maple syrup. I know it's not healthy, but maple syrup at least is, a pretty cool thing to be able to give the world. I know when we have guests that come from, we have had exchange students and stuff from Spain, and we always send home the maple syrup. Oh, and ice wine. We do ice wine too. We do ice wine in Niagara very well, so we have those.
Yes, I was very fortunate to go to Niagara College, which has the vineyard like right on campus.
Right,
So, like, of course, we'd snoop into it, and then the greenhouses because they have the horticultural program.
right. That's amazing. And so you are kind of bringing your culinary skills into a business now. Um, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what your plans are and where you kind of see yourself going?
Yeah. So, my end goal is agro-tourism, which is a complete dream of mine and fantasies that one day I'll be able to have cooking classes at my farm and be able to walk people around and actually show farm to table all in one day. Like, this is how you grow the plants, and this is how you create something absolutely beautiful. And so right now, I'm kind of on my way, I'd say. I've taught cooking at President's Choice Cooking School, and I'm starting to open up and do more individualized classes on myself, like just by myself. And I really want to show how to eat healthy. Like I did Meals That Heal, which was focused on completely vegan style cooking and how to be able to like transition from more of like a meal plan situation.
Mhm.
And I really want to be able to show people that you can eat healthy and how to eat healthy without it tasting terrible. Because I know there's a lot of people immediately go to the greens and they go, absolutely not. And
I
they
know
go,
kale gets such a bad rap. Like kale, come on, it's not that bad.
100%. And then it's so funny because one of my I was training one of our new staff members and I was like, well, you have to massage the kale. And she looked at me and she thought I was messing with her. But there's a lot of tricks to the trade for sure, just to get it to become elevated, I'd say. And so right now I'm actually working with another chef and it's called Les Pommes Petites and I just started, so I'm very new to it. And we go into people's houses and we create 6 or 7 course meals. And they're just completely extravagant, I have to say. They're beautiful. It's amazing being able to work with the ingredients that I have, especially at such a young age. And it's definitely influencing the style of cooking that I have now, where I'd have to say it's a blend between like good old fashioned homesteading farming cuisine and then kind of like a French cooking, plus a blend of vegetarian, vegan inspired cooking.
Oh my gosh, like my mouth is starting to water just as you say that. Like I can just totally visualize that and how amazing that combination would be,
A lot of microgreens for sure.
which are
And
so nutrient dense, which is so great. So
I just love them because it's just that instant gratification from farming too, because you
right.
just want to wait a couple of days.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you know, I need to switch gears a little bit because I know that this is something that a lot of young people are concerned about. And you know, if you don't mind us asking, how old are you?
Yep, I'm 22 now.
Right. So as you are now starting to, you know, develop your business, you know, goals of homesteading your own place, this is becoming almost out of reach for many people because of the land costs in our area in particular. And it's becoming, you know, I think less young people are getting into farming and homesteading and things like this. So what do you kind of see, or what's your concerns or your hopes for the future, as I know that this is going to be a challenge for yourself and for others as they enter into the housing market?
Well, I've been looking at houses for years and costs, and even just to imagine getting property nowadays, it's not attainable, especially to someone my age. And I'm at the point where it's either inherit or you don't get the dream farm.
Right.
It's a sad realization for sure. And I feel terrible for people who weren't blessed by growing up somewhere like I did. I grew up on over 200 acres of just beautiful hills right on the river. No one can really say that anymore. And I really hope that I'll be able to get my foot in the door for that property and actually be able to do some homesteading myself. Right now, I've been working on my boyfriend's property, and it's beautiful, but the hours and the labor, it's like having a full-time job on top of your full-time job,
Right.
for sure. And it's incredibly difficult. I mean, I have the knowledge and background in it, but a lot of people my age, they just don't. They didn't grow up going to strawberry patches and making their own jam and going to all these different experiences. Like, I grew up with 4-H, and we learned so much about agriculture. And just to be able to have that, I'm really grateful, and just to have those experiences already. But the sad realization is that not many people can farm, especially the way that we used to, like with just the acres, because it's just so incredibly expensive
Mhm.
between taxes and everything.
I can hear your dog in the background. He's a happy dog. He's probably seen the ducks.
No, we're getting a garbage bin today
Oh,
because labor doesn't stop. And so he's letting me know that that's happening.
that's happening. That's awesome. So yeah, I think that one of the things for young people is going to be getting creative and coming up with out of the box solutions to these kind of problems. I see potentially for some people to be able to like farm share, maybe like renting patches on farmers' lands and stuff. It's a sad state of the world that we're in right now. And I think that these last couple of years have really taught us that community, self-reliance, staying local, eating local, is so important. And as we look, just a short way into the future where they're talking now about food security and the potential supply chain issues that we're going to be seeing, I think it's so important right now that this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call to our young generation. It's a wake-up call to really start focusing on some of these solutions. And I think that you are in a great position because you are in a position to be able to teach the next generation of people up and coming, because this is going, I think we are definitely, I see us heading back towards those kinds of traditional models of raising families where it's intergenerational, people living in the same home, sharing farms, things like that, and really getting back to this, the farmer market, the community, which I think is a great thing. I think that that's one of the things that we've lost and is been a detriment to our society right now. But I do hope that you don't feel hopeless because I think that there are solutions out there. But I think it's going to take someone like you who is motivated and has the knowledge and will start thinking about these like I said, out of the box kind of solutions. So where do you kind of see yourself in the next 5 years? Do you have what kind of goal?
Yes, I've got a couple of projects that I want to work on. One of them is cows, which is horrible because I know that they're gonna break out, and I know that, like, my uncle personally, he's had so many struggles with them. He's broken his jaw because of cows. Like, he had a gate close on him, and I just look forward to the learning experiences. And I want to be able to create a garden that works instead of a garden that feeds my chickens because they break in. That's definitely a summer goal. And I just want to be able to get to that point where I have a functioning farm instead of working during the day to try to pay for the farm. I think that's every farmer's goal, to be honest.
Right.
But I do have hope, and I do see myself growing and my farm growing and being able to experience what it is to live in a beautiful agriculture area. And I just I can't wait for it. Like every day, you just got a couple of projects and you get that much closer. And I think that's a great way to look at it, is just bit by bit.
That's amazing. Now, if people want to follow your journey and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that? I know you have an Instagram page. Maybe you can give us your handle, or whatever way of communicating with you is best.
Yeah, Instagram for sure. I do try to post a little bit more, especially now that I'm getting into more of the culinary side of things. It's clarissa.smith25. And I definitely look forward to seeing new followers and seeing kind of what they're doing, especially if they're into homesteading. Learn to do like what other people are doing for sure. I love that kind of creative aspect. And if you have any suggestions on beekeeping, I'll take them, because that's another project I want to get into this summer.
Yes, that's something that you and my husband will have in common, because I know we've talked about that, and that's our next venture, is getting into the beekeeping. So that'll be exciting. We'll be sharing some of that on our Start Small Instagram page as well. So we'll have some crossover hopefully with you.
Perfect. I look forward to it.
Great. We're going to make sure we have all of that information in our show notes for anybody who wants to connect with Clarissa and follow along, and reach out for any kind of tips or sharing of information, which I think is beautiful. And Clarissa, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. I'm so inspired by the young people today, and I learned so much from them. So just your enthusiasm for everything has been wonderful, and just know that we are cheering you on, and we hope that we'll be able to follow your dreams come true.
Thank you, Debbie. This means a lot, especially being able to speak about my experiences. Like, you give such a great opportunity to so many voices. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, thanks. And we look forward to checking in with you again and see your progress. So take care, everyone, and have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to Start Small. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found a small step you can take today. Make sure you share it with a friend. And if you have not done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you are enjoying this podcast, consider taking a moment and leaving us an honest review in your Apple podcasting app, so more people can be inspired to take small steps towards social impact.